Emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to identify and to manage your emotions and the emotions of others. Scientific journalist, author, and psychologist Daniel Goleman popularized the concept of emotional intelligence, EQ, in 1995 in his book, Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence theory outlines 5 components of EQ: self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to the EQ and Me series, episode 3. In our last episode, we considered self-management and asked ourselves, are our emotions hijacking us? Are our emotions hijacking us? And yes, the answer was yes, they are hijacking us. And there were certain tools that I shared with you in episode 2 that if you have applied in this past few days, then you will find that you now have an awareness of these emotions and you will make a decision whether you want them to hijack you or not. The decision remains squarely with you. The tools that we looked at included looking at things differently and knowing your triggers. When you look at things differently, I'll give you the analogy of a family, siblings. So a couple of siblings in a home, brought up in this home, lived together for 20 years. Yet if you ask them about their experiences, what they thought about certain instances at home, everybody is most likely to have a unique perspective. They all looked at the same thing at the same time, experienced it differently. That's perspectives. That is you looking at something differently. If there's a certain way you have been looking at something, we are now asking you to look at something differently so that you can keep this hijacking in check. Now, before I continue, I just want to check that we are indeed live. And let us see that we are indeed live today, which is our motivation episode. And yes, we are live. So coming back to perspectives being used as a tool that will help us to look at this hijacking aspect. The hijacking is just the emotions coming and taking over your daily life. We are emotional beings, and I'm suggesting to you that you have the control to decide which emotions you are going to experience when. So back to the analogy of perspectives, with the siblings in a home experiencing the same things, but in different ways. So for instance, if I used a sun hat and I placed a sun hat hanging from the ceiling and somebody was looking at it from the top, so they had an aerial view, they will be looking at this sun hat, not knowing it's a sun hat, but they will describe it. And then we have somebody who is looking at it from the underneath and looking up. And as they look up, they will describe it also. And then we have somebody standing, I guess, to the left or to the right of the sun hat, and they describe it. They're all going to have different descriptions of the same sun hat. Before you unravel or unleash or expose that it's actually a sun hat, they will all have different perspectives of the same thing. So the question was, are our emotions hijacking us? That's what we were asking. So we could be looking at the same thing, but one of the tools we are asking you to take on is looking at it from a different perspective. Whatever you think is a reality in that moment, you are encouraged to look at it from a different perspective. The other tool that we used was freeze. Now, why freeze? Because in that moment, we want you to be centered. For you to experience being centered, you need to inhale and exhale. So you're breathing in and out. Now, the minute that you are freezing, that means you're stopping things in time. You're stopping this hijacking process. And you're able to jump onto the mere fact that I need to take a moment here. And so you take a moment and you do not allow the emotions to hijack you. The third one was identifying the factors that affect our emotions. And this was an interesting one because we looked at simple things like food, where food in abundance could affect our emotions, make us act in a certain way, feel a certain way, or food in scarcity, if we are hungry, if we are thirsty, that could easily trigger these emotions. They could affect these emotions. We talked about fatigue. If you are fatigued, there's bound to be a certain way that you are going to act. Maybe impatience, maybe you're short with somebody, maybe you're rude, because you want to get over with it already. This is the emotion that you're experiencing, which is not your usual emotion. Medication, we looked at medication, and I encouraged you to look at the contraindications of every medication that you take. And you'll find that some of them say that there will be drowsiness. Some of them will say there will be mood swings. So medication can actually affect our emotions. So those were the 3 tools that we looked at last week so that we can be able to manage the emotions just from hijacking us, just to ensure that that does not happen. At the end of the day, when you understand why your emotions are happening in a certain way, you are already exercising emotional intelligence. You're already identifying and you're able to manage. It sounds simple, right? But you know what? Because we're emotional beings, at times we are more comfortable in the emotions that we lie in, we sit in, the emotions that are giving us kind of a comfort zone. Anyway, moving on, because that was the episode from the last time. We have another episode today. But we did ask certain questions. What area of self-management did you improve on? What did you improve on in the last week? Now that you know those perspectives, there's freezing or centering, and there's considering the factors that affect emotions, what area of self-management did you improve on? Was it in you understanding the factors that affect your emotions? I'd love for you to share here in the chat. I'm just looking at my chat and I'm not seeing anything live yet. Thank you so much for joining Tuesday Talks at 3. This is the EQ and Me series, and today we are touching on motivation. We are touching on motivation. The other question was, what steps have you taken to improve in those areas? So you have an area that you've identified. What steps have you taken to improve in those areas? Have you ensured that in your awareness, you now know that there is a different way to look at the same thing and you have applied it? Have you said that every day, if you were faced with a certain situation, you were going to pause and think about it and look at it from a different aspect? Maybe somebody else's opinion will matter at this point. I don't know. The question is, what steps have you taken to improve in those areas? And then how do you know you are improving? How do you know that you are improving? In episode 1, we looked at 2 opposite emotions where we choose which one we wanted to be in at that moment. So for instance, the example we gave was you wake up in the morning and you're feeling anxiety. You're so fearful of this day. You don't want to walk into this day, to get up and start this day. And you're feeling anxious and it's actually paralyzing you. And the recommendation was think of a totally opposite kind of emotion. And I gave the example of joy. So anxiety is on one side and joy is on the other. And the question is, what do I need to know to do here and now to be joyous? The next question was, how do I maintain that joyous emotion throughout the day? So how would you know that you're improving? Were you able to do it? Were you able to apply that example successfully? If you woke up feeling joyous and you wanted to maintain this joy throughout the day, the question is the same. What do I need to do in this moment to maintain this joy throughout the day? And then you can give yourself a self-audit at the end of the day. Well, are you still sitting on the fence? If you are, hop onto my YouTube channel for a recording of the previous episodes on self-awareness and self-management. Now, in this episode, this particular one that we are in, we seek to understand how to develop motivation. Easier said than done. How do we develop motivation for ourselves? And we continue to borrow from Daniel Goleman's theory of emotional intelligence. So the question of this afternoon is very simple. How do I stay motivated? How do I stay motivated? Why don't you share with us in the chat how you stay motivated? How do you keep it motivated? How do you keep things alive and relevant? How do you keep things to have that kind of trust and hope that we can move forward? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. There's always a goal. And if there's no goal, you want to direct message me so that I can take you through my goal setting and my purpose setting. You must have a goal, an objective in everything that you do. When you wake up in the morning, there's a plan. That's the goal. What's the plan for today? And you map it out. Once you have that in your mind, and maybe you did it yesterday, or you did it the week before, or you did it a month ago, but you know there's an objective. Is it about going to work? Is it about going to the hustle? Is it about having fun today? Is it about just relaxing and chilling and just making sure that you're recharging your batteries? Whatever it is, it's a goal. And you've mapped out how it's going to happen. Maybe you've said today, I'm sitting back and I'm not going to think it. I'm just going to let it be. Hey, that's a goal. And you've mapped it out. Now, action plans will come out next. These action plans are the ones that are going to help you execute that day. Today, I just want to experience joy. So what actions are you going to do to experience joy? Well, for me, I have music on. I love me some music. That is what helps me. I love to cook. So you can imagine cooking with music on. This is one way that I execute my joy. What is it for you? What do you do to execute your joy? You need to make a decision. That is why we are starting from the beginning. One important thing that I borrow from the business world, the corporate world, is the next one: prediction and planning. Prediction is very important because much as we set out our day, we must also be ready for the things that could go wrong, and we prepare for them. Welcome, Rose Kwekwe. Great to see you here. Today we're talking about emotion and how we can develop our emotion. I'd love for you to share with us in the chat how you keep yourself motivated throughout the day or motivated throughout a project or a game plan. So we're looking at prediction. Now, once you predict the internal and the external challenges, it makes it so much easier because you are ready to deal with them when they show up. Welcome, Kavi. Good to see you here. So in the prediction of the internal, let's give you an example. Internal could be those voices that keep on coming, that inner critic, that now it's going to tell you you can't do this, or this is not a good time, or don't go there, or pull back, or don't trust, don't pour money into it. So you need to predict what your voices are going to tell you and how you're going to mitigate, how you're going to respond, how you're going to manage that internal voice. Then there's external challenges. What could the external challenges be? So let's use another analogy. And today I'm so analogetic, if that is an English word. The analogy of the external challenges. Let us use the example of a trip. So you woke up this morning and you're jumping into the vehicle with a group of friends and you're going out on this trip. What could be the external challenges? It could be the weather. It could be running out of fuel. It could be a puncture. It could be engine failure. So you want to be able to predict and prepare because we are starting from the beginning. And then once you've predicted and you've prepared, we need to go into determination and discipline because we are on this journey. We have a vision. We may predict that one of the external challenges is that we may get into an accident. What would we do if we were in an accident? So you want to have your papers ready. You want to have a phone call ready, phone number ready for a contact. You want to be able to have contacts for hotels because maybe that is where you're going to stop over, contacts for your mechanic, whatever it is. You need to predict and prepare. And such is life. Because you need to continue with your vision, with your game plan. This is not the time to give up and come back home. This is the time to change tracks. We are still headed in the same direction for the vision and the goal, but now we are using a different way to approach it, to reach it. And this is vital on this journey. Guys, I want to say to you, it's not so much about arriving at the journey, at the vision, at the end goal, but it is about the journey. The journey is where living happens. This is where life happens. This is where the experiences happen. You see, we always say that life happens, and the best laid out plans go horribly wrong. They can go horribly wrong. We've got the instances when things go so well and we're so excited, but we do know that they can go horribly wrong. I beg your pardon. Maslow exists, and Maslow's law is the one that tells us that whatever you plan could go horribly wrong. So what happens? Will you quit? I encourage you not to quit, but I encourage you to look at a different way to achieve the same goal. So you want to fall forward, not falling backwards. This is just a setback. I want you to exercise resilience. But because today we are talking about motivation, I want you to stay motivated. And for you to stay motivated with a plan, for the plan, about the plan, we need consistency. So today we seek to understand how to develop this motivation. How are we going to be able to have consistent motivation? Like I say, it is easier said than done. So life does happen, and we want to stay motivated in these times of darkness and confusion. In general, things will work out okay in life despite these setbacks. But you want to be able to take a moment and look back at a success that you have, because you've got to have some facts to fall back on. So just take a moment now and look back on some of the successes that you've had, no matter how small. In fact, the smaller the success, the better. Now consider the setbacks that it came with. What setbacks did you experience as a result of you arriving at this success? Was it a smooth ride, or did you have certain setbacks that you dealt with? You see, once you consider these setbacks, it opens up your mind to what prediction you should be having, what preparation, what planning you should be having when you set out, and how the motivation steps in. How will I stay motivated in the times of darkness? Through prediction. Because I would have seen this happening or something close to it happening, and I would have been prepared. So you need prediction, you need preparation. Don't step out into a game plan without prediction and preparation. In our last episode, we looked at taking back control and not allowing the emotion to overwhelm us into paralyses. And one of the tips that I gave was pay attention to where, this is interesting, pay attention to where your attention is going. Why do I say this? Because most of the time, being human beings, and we did test this in the last episode, is when you are asked a question, it is better for you to answer from a place of being authentic. But it is very difficult for you to answer when somebody says, what good thing has happened today? Because being human beings, the easier question to answer is, what has gone wrong today? And then there's an entire list. In our last episode, I asked you for good emotions. And it took us a long time to list out some good emotions. The minute I asked for negative emotions, we had them on the chat. It's nothing unique to you. This is a normal reaction of a human being. So we are back to the attention. Where does your attention go? Where does your focus go? It most probably goes to that you do not have, that you cannot achieve, that belongs to somebody else, so you're coveting it. Very rarely will your attention go to that you have, especially when you're in times of darkness, distress, and confusion. You tend to look at what you don't have. And I encourage you, and I've encouraged you this in the different episodes, train your mind, your attention, because you know wherever your focus is, energy flows there. Train your mind to consider what you have in your hands. You could be in darkness, but there's something you have in your hand that you can place attention in a positive way, and it will keep you motivated. We are seeking how we can develop our motivation levels. So your attention to what you have is one way to do this. What words are you saying to yourself? We've said this before. You know, you hear somebody saying, this happened to me. How about changing the narrative and saying, this happened for me? There's some learnings over here. What are the learnings? Are you taking that situation and choosing to stay motivated because that too shall pass? These are deep questions. These are deep questions. The answers are also deep. It's how badly do you want it? Do you want to climb out of this darkness and this confusion, or do you want to stay there because it is comfortable? It's a place that you know you can relate to. Now, very few of us actually break through and choose to come out. Most of us want to stay there because it is easier to be in victim mode. For example, we can say to ourselves, what can I learn from this? Already, you are stepping out of the darkness and the confusion. You could say to yourself, what emotion should I experience in this very moment? Again, you are helping yourself to stay motivated and come out of this darkness, because this too shall pass. In this way, we are developing our own motivation, because my motivation and your motivation are two different things. Remember, when we look at things from different perspectives, we are accepting that everybody doesn't see that one thing the same way. So the way you are seeing it right now is most probably not the way I'm seeing it. But the fact that we are both choosing an emotion to experience in this very moment, we are developing our motivation levels. We all encounter problems. This is like the analogy of the hat. We're looking at these problems from different angles. So it is how we deal with them that matters. And like I said, prediction helps you in planning because it gives you a jump start. And in this way, when the challenge arises, we are much better placed or prepared to handle it. Now, when these challenges arise and we have this prediction, we want to exercise optimism. Optimism is another way to develop our motivation. Now, this is realistic optimism. You will find certain people who, in whatever situation, will keep on telling you that it is okay, it's going to be fine, it is well, it will work out. There is unrealistic optimism and there is realistic optimism. Optimism is that attitude that you have that despite what you are going through, you are going to be able to come through it and past it. Remember the successes we talked about a few minutes ago and looking at the challenges that you may have gone through to get to that success? We need to trust in the process. But most of the time, we self-doubt. We have a process, we've got a game plan, we've got a purpose, we are setting out to do something, and then what? We see somebody else's life, somebody else's experience. We start coveting somebody else's material things. And in that instant, we lose trust in the process. Whose process? Your process. So let's go back to what I had suggested, the question that is going to help you stay motivated. What can I learn from this? So already learning becomes a motivation. And there's this concept about learning, unlearning, and relearning. Learning, unlearning, and relearning. We have learned and we learn every day. We are made up of the things that we have learned. We have hard truths. We've got hard line beliefs because of what we have learned over time. And these kind of beliefs are the ones that inform our actions and the things that we do. However, we realize very quickly that in this ever-changing world, that the information that we have held true for the longest of time has been rendered obsolete. It has been rendered obsolete. That realization should actually trigger us to unlearn what we learned. But there's the fear in unlearning because we're going back to an area that we don't know. Once we've learned, we know. We're in a comfort zone. We can respond. But when you unlearn, then what happens? You actually need a lot of support when you're unlearning something, you need an inner circle to support you. You need a group of people who you're going to be chatting away about this unlearning process. But you know what? You need to unlearn. And when you unlearn something, it opens up the pathway for relearning, for acquiring new information, for changing the narrative. This is definitely a very profound way of developing your motivation level. Once you learn new things, you stay motivated because you're challenged. This is something new. It's not a comfort zone. In a comfort zone, there is no challenge. You know what you know. But once you've unlearned and learned something new, you now have new beliefs. Let's use another example. In the past, when we're talking about disciplining, and we're talking about maybe 20 to 30 years ago, one way to discipline a child in the African culture was spanking. And we believed that in spanking, the child was able to understand they're being disciplined with love and that they needed to conform and change their behavior. And this is what worked. It carried through to school. So in schools, there was also the spanking. This is what we believed. However, today, in this ever-changing world, this has changed. And we no longer ascribe to spanking. Dialogue has entered the room. So we need to unlearn, those of us of the olden age, of 20, 30 years ago, we need to unlearn the spanking and we need to learn dialogue. Therefore, we are relearning discipline from a point of dialogue. We are acquiring new information. How do we discipline our children with love through dialogue? One of them is through emotional intelligence, like what we are going through right now. Learning about emotional intelligence so that you can identify and manage your emotions and somebody else's emotions. In this case, read your child's emotion. Or a youth person who's young, their emotion. So the question was, what can I learn from this? I can learn that I need to unlearn and relearn. Definitely a way to develop your emotion, your motivation level. And this is true for your limiting beliefs. In that subconscious, there are certain things that you have totally believed to be true. And now it is being challenged. What is it that is being challenged? It is time to unlearn so that you can relearn and acquire new information. So definitely that is one way that we can develop our motivation level. Stress and overwhelm is another area where we can develop motivation levels. I mean, stress is defined as that fear of a future loss or failure or a feeling of emotional or physical tension. Stress. Stress is healthy for you, but stress that is out of control is definitely not healthy for you. We need to be able to manage this emotion called stress. Overwhelm also is another one. Overwhelm is fearing that there's too much to do, that you won't be able to achieve it at the end of the day. And you get this anxiety, you get this palpitation, your body reacts in a certain way. So stress and overwhelm are those things that can actually get you so unmotivated or demotivated about a situation. We want to be able to identify stress and overwhelm in our lives and be able to manage it. Remember, we're talking about self. This is the Emotional Intelligence and Me series. We're talking about how we can manage our own emotional intelligence. Now, if unchecked, stress and overwhelm, depression can set in. I repeat that. If unchecked, this stress and overwhelm, depression can set in as a result of a chronic, stressful, and overwhelming life. It creeps on us very slowly. That feeling of not being in control, that feeling of being a victim of the situation, a victim of emotions, we become our own worst enemies because we become so engulfed in our emotions, we drown. We drown. And the way I deal with my emotions and the way you deal with yours are totally different. But these tools do help you. Therefore, it is important for you to know how you can develop motivation levels It helps you to step out of this darkness. It helps you to step out of this stress, of this confusion. The solution is to focus on the here and now and take the action in the moment. So if you are in the darkness here now and you feel that you are drowning, deal with the moment here and now. Stop your mind from getting hijacked and dealing with things outside that area. Deal with what you have right now. You are in darkness. You are in confusion right now. Deal with what you have in your hands. And what do you have in your hands? You have your mind. You have your thoughts. You have your inner circle. You can speak to somebody. You can read something. That is in the present. In that moment, you want to be able to freeze and consider a different perspective to that of allowing yourself to go into the darkness. It is easier said than done. My recommendation is that with every step that you take and there's stress and overwhelm, deal with it in that instant. It helps you to develop your motivation level. And as we come to the end of our session today, our episode today, my heart goes out to those who are suffering from depression. And if unchecked, like I said, it only gets worse. Let us be mindful, starting with ourselves. Let us show compassion and love to ourselves, that whenever something is happening in our lives, let us be kind to ourselves. And like I said, the solution is to focus on the here and now and take the action in the moment. Try not to look at the future, because that is where you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Freeze and be in this moment and deal with it here now. Exercise compassion and love unto self. In this way, we are already on our way to doing away with depression. Depression becomes a disease, and you do not want to wish it upon yourself or anybody. Because once you go into deep dive of depression, it's way deep and it's so hard to get out. We get to the point of medication, we get to the point of being admitted into an institution. Start today, guys. Ask yourself what needs to shift. And for me, the one thing that shifted for me when I started going into depression was my motivation, the reason to wake up every day. And though I was in a dark and confusing place, I needed to stay motivated every step. And therefore I had a game plan. The game plan did not work. There were many game plans, but I was consistent. You need to apply consistency. We need to work on our stress and our overwhelm. As we come to the end, I want us to check in. I want us to check into this aspect of motivation level. I have thrown a few words around today. I have thrown in, hello, Nancy, good to see you there. I have thrown in plan, motivation, of course, which was the big one. I've thrown in predict and plan. I have thrown in determination and discipline. They went together. I threw in optimism, which was realistic optimism. I threw in resilience, consistency, because motivation needs consistency. I brought in unlearning and relearning. And this may be something new to some of you, but it is powerful when you unlearn something to create space for you to learn something new, to change a narrative, to align yourself to the ever-changing world. This will reduce the stress and the overwhelm in your life. It will bring back control into your life. I talked about stress and overwhelm. So I want you to take these words, and if you can create a word map for yourself. I remember I used a lot of word maps. I'll put words all over the place because I'm visual. And just look at them and see how they connect. I want you to take these words and create yourself a motivation gauge. A motivation gauge, like that one in a vehicle, so that you know where you are. Are you on full tank? Are you on half tank? Are you on quarter? Are you on empty? And these words will help you to know where you're at. So what is your motivation level on average? This is a valid question, something that you need to ask and answer yourself. What is your motivation level on average? You need to ask this question. Are you conscious of your motivation level on average? If I asked you right now, how motivated are you? Do you have an answer? If you do have an answer, that means there was a plan, there was an action, there was a prediction, there was determination and discipline, and you are moving forward with it. You are able to answer and say, yes, I am motivated. And these are the things that I do, Lucy, to keep me motivated. I gave you my example. If I'm relaxing today, how do I keep the joy? How do I keep motivated in that joy, in that emotion? I've got music and I'm cooking. And this is my motivation. I know it. So are you conscious about your motivation level on average? Are you conscious about it? Can you actually say, I am full on, full tank motivation, or I'm empty and I need to work on it. I need time out. And it's okay to be empty. It's okay to have time out. What is not okay is not to be aware, not to be conscious of it. Because emotional intelligence is the ability to identify and manage your emotions. So how are you going to identify them if you're not aware, if you're not conscious? Now that you're aware and you have this awareness of your emotional intelligence, of your motivation gauge, you want to ask yourself a few questions, but I see there is a share here in the chat. Oh, Nancy says, thank you. Our apologies. We joined late. We'll join up on YouTube. Yes, please do. Join up on YouTube. Remember to look at the past episodes so everything just ties in. We've got 2 more episodes to go. Empathy and social skills are our 2 more sessions to go. So as we wind up, now that you have awareness of your motivation gauge, what areas need improvement? What areas do you need improvement? And I guess the question here is really, what do you need to unlearn? What do you need to unlearn? Only you have the answer to that. Think about it. If you need more help, I'm here, direct message me and we can take a discovery call. The discovery call is free of charge. You can take a discovery call with me, book it on my Facebook Live, on my Facebook page, or book it onto my IG, book it on my LinkedIn, and we can have a chat. The next question is, what is stopping you in those areas? Now that you know the areas of improvement, what is stopping you? Do you know what is stopping you? Great place also to start. What is stopping me from knowing my motivation gauge? What is stopping me from being motivated? And maybe to be more specific, what is stopping me from having positive and realistic optimism? What is stopping me from reducing the stress and the overwhelm in my life? What is it? And last but not least, what action will you take now to improve this? There always has to be a call to action. I am a sales and marketing person. So for me, there's always a call to action. We call it a CTA. So what action will you take now to improve this? We don't wait for tomorrow. Remember, we are taking action in the moment. This is how we are managing and developing our motivation levels. Thank you so much for being with me today. How to stay motivated is our takeaways today. I have 3 of them for you. Choosing optimism and being open to learning so that we can unlearn and relearn. Choosing optimism and being open to it. Are you going to unlearn and relearn? The choice is yours. I'm telling you, it's exciting to unlearn and learn and relearn. Great things are happening in your life when you do that. You're opening up this door. The second one is consistency and resilience. Resilience is important because things will go wrong. And when things go wrong, we choose another lane. We don't give up. We choose another lane. We call it. Consistency, you need consistency in motivation. You cannot be motivated today and not motivated tomorrow. So you must stay consistent. So the second one is consistency and resilience. The third one is being intentionally present in the moment and managing stress and overwhelm. Managing stress and overwhelm, so that we don't invite depression into our lives. Depression is real, guys. Depression is real, and you do not want to wish it upon yourself or anybody that you love. Let us exercise compassion and love, and let us manage our stress and our overwhelm, so that we can have a better and a fruitful life, so that we can thrive and not merely survive. Motivation is an emotion. It is an emotion. Motivation is an emotion that you need to choose. You need to choose motivation. It will entail you learning new things about yourself, and that might be scary, but try it. To quote John Spalding, to help you move along, is, they who can no longer unlearn have lost the power to learn. So John Spalding is suggesting that we need to keep on unlearning so that we can learn new things. In my words, we need to open up so that we can relearn and learn new ways and acquire new information. We continue with the EQ and Me series, and our next episode is all about empathy. In the meantime, remember to like our Facebook page to receive regular updates of these scheduled talks. I'd love for you to visit our website, which is LMC Consultancy, for more on our services, and then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Nancy, for saying that you will jump and hop on there. Our YouTube channel is LMC Consultancy. When you're there, remember to share. Remember to hit the notification button for prompts on new videos. As I have mentioned time and time again, my ebook is now available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. It is called Awakening Self. Let us help build one another. And until then, until our next episode, be kind to yourself. Bye-bye now.